Alright, it will be time to take a look at the Dominix Special Ops, or as I like to call it, the Dominix Black Ops. This would be the EVE Online's equivalent of the Sin. The Sin should be the Gallente Black Ops in EVE Online. I will have to double check that, but I believe it's the Sin. Now, this is also my primary Black Ops ship for Black Ops operations. I used to have the Typhoon, but I have replaced the Typhoon with this thing. So far, I would say it's a good replacement, mostly because of the Bombard implant. I have a very high Bombard level, and it really works well with this particular ship. And this ship is also very lucky. It survived multiple super capital encounters so far. Now, in the trade description, the ship can actually fit the covered Sino steel generator, and I believe it can fit the classic Sino for super capitals, for dreadnoughts and stuff like that. We will be checking that out. Also does have a effect on the speed while being cloaked, a boost on extender, an armor plate hit point bonus. Obviously you do get a drone damage bonus, command range bonus, and some railgun damage. Now, drone boats usually have lower hit point values compared to the ordinary ships, primarily because their hull is being made in such a way that they have room for drones, and lore wise it would mean that they should have lower hit points by default, which is notable on all the drone boats. Now when it comes to the high slots, I personally like to use the blasters, the close range railguns. However, if you like to use sentries, if you are built for long range, then the large rifle railguns will do the job. I again prefer to use the close range ones. They also have slightly higher DPS as well. So let me just go back to the good old close range blasters. This is also what I use in the Black Ops operations, pretty much the same high slots. 12.6 kilometers range, optimal range and fall off is about the same, which is, I would say, okay. And the ship does have a bonus on the weapon, so that's the right thing to use. On the Dominix Navy I used cannons, because that ship doesn't have any bonuses on the railguns. If it had, I would probably use railguns on that ship as well. Now, in the medium slots you can pretty much use whatever you like, depending on the situation. Usually I have a specialized build. You can't fit the tactical modules obviously, but you can fit Sinos, which is again interesting. Technically can be a bait ship. There is the Aurora Sino field generator, and this should be the normal Sino. Should not be the covert Sino. The covert Sino has a different icon. This should be able to launch a super capital or a dreadnought at any given time, so you can fit that onto this ship, which means that a Black Ops should be able to call a capital if it's built to do that. However, in my case, I'm just using this as a DPS ship. I'm not obviously launching a Sino. Usually we have someone else to do that job. Now, in the low slots, you have 6 low slots, plenty of slots to play around with. And since I'm built for a DPS, so I already have a DPS setup ready, because again I use this ship as a DPS ship for Black Ops fleets. I usually go and fit all damage mods with some utility for drones that I will show you. Obviously, occasionally I fit a cloaking device depending on how deep we go. If we go very deep into territory, then I like to fit a cloak, and let me tell you, that cloak, I think that cloak saved my ship like 3 times, 4 times by now. So if we go that deep, and if there is a high threat of half of the fleet being deleted, yeah, a cloaking device is definitely a smart thing to have. If we don't go too deep, if it's a hit and run operation, then I can replace the cloak with a utility module or extra DPS. When it comes to the build, you can go with a a buffer tank if you like, although for a buffer tank you would definitely need to do a different rig setup, because at the moment, yeah, these stats are not good. Although I would say the Dominix, this Dominix Special Ops is probably one of the few Black Ops ships that I would not tank fit, because again, it doesn't have the hit points for that. You can make it a tanky build if you want, but tanking the other Black Ops ships would definitely give better results. After all, the runboats have a lot less hit points by default. And that's one of the reasons why I just decided to go and yeet a full DPS setup on this thing, which I kind of used. I don't use this exact build when I am part of the Black Ops fleet. I use a much cheaper build because I still expect the ship to be blown up. I expect the ship to eventually go down. After all, the risk is pretty high when you do stuff like that, and at the same time, it is pretty fun. I'm not gonna lie, the Black Ops operations that we had, they were ridiculously fun. I'm glad that I participated in those. Now let me just put in some of my spare drones in the special ops here. I don't dare to open the Dominix Navy's drone hold. I have a lot of drones there, and I just don't want to see how much ESC I have trapped into that ship. I use those drones, I need them. Integrated, augmented drones, all that stuff is there primarily. 3000 DPS is not bad actually, and if I put one of my spare nano cores on this ship, should raise the DPS, yeah, 3.2, not bad. 3000 call DPS, which is decent. Obviously, this can go much higher depending on what nano core you have, but for the things that I do, it's more than enough. I'm not the only Black Ops, there's like 20-30 more, and the current DPS value is more than enough for this ship. So, what is the next thing that I can do? Let me just go and show you the current hot DPS of the ship. Obviously, with the Bombard, the DPS is pretty much tripled or quadrupled, depending on how you calculate it. I just go with the lower value of being tripled, basically because of the Bombard implant. And the implant, whose fault is, because I'm using drones now, I mean, I blame Bombard that I'm back to drones. If the Bombard implant wasn't so broken, I wouldn't be using it. But, you know, I said it before, if I can use it so much that it causes a nerf, I'll be happy with that. That's my goal. I want the Bombard nerfed. I want all the implants put back into a balanced order. And that's why I'm using it so far. But I've had fun with the Bombard implant. It's a decent implant. I mean decent. It's probably one of the best implants that we can buy right now. There's a reason why it's also the most expensive one. Now, depending on what drones you have, your DPS will vary. I have the Assault Hurricane drones. I don't know when I bought them. I have no idea how much they cost. I have no idea if they are still obtainable. I just know I have these drones in this ship here. In the drone bay I have a bunch more. In the Dominix Navy, I believe. And also they do give some good DPS. They're a bit faster than the normal drones. They are event drones, I believe. And you also have sentries, which will give the best DPS. I have the sniper pulsars. I have no idea how much they cost. I will check the price later. Out of curiosity, because I really want to know how much these drones cost. Because, you know, if they are expensive enough, I might sell them. 800 million, well, that's not a bad price. I think they used to be much cheaper, so the price definitely went up. And also, these ships can jump. They are Black Ops ships. They obviously can jump through Sinum. 5,400 DPS. Not bad with Bombard. Again, tripled, quadrupled, depending on how you calculate it. So, yeah. it slaps. That's the long story short regarding the DPS of the ship. I can double that if
Docking
I
request
put
accepted.
the Dominix Navy nanocore into this thing. I think I can double it, should be able to double it. I think I have a thermocore laying around somewhere. But even this current DPS value is truly overkill, and it's more than enough to eat most ships in a very short amount of time. Only the super tanky ships do have a chance to withstand Bombard and the crazy high DPS values. Only these ships can do a dedicated tanky build like what I have on the Hyperion Bomber and ships that are similar to that one. However, those ships fall when matched up against Blood Raider ships. Unfortunately, because of stabs, you are not able to hold them, but you can break down their
Undocking.
tank. Which is I guess in a fleet doable, although solo, I don't know, you need to have a very fancy nanocore in order to do solo with Blood Raiders. If you don't want to have 7 scramblers installed on your ship, obviously. 113. No, I have put some utility, increased range and stuff, tracking and stuff like that. I like to use utility in the Black Ops fleet, especially if there is interceptors or a small ship. With the Dominix hull, you do get a bonus on a vast majority of drones. You can use medium drones, light drones, scout drones, heavy drones, sentries, everything. You have a bonus on everything pretty much. Not something that is present on the Rattlesnake hull, for example. The Rattlesnake hull can only utilize the large drones, only has a bonus on large drones, which used to be a big problem, but now with Bombard, I don't think that's a big problem anymore, because Bombard, with a high level, it does give the speed and velocity bonus. But I would still prefer a ship that has a natural bonus on the smaller drones and on the smaller drones, because it's much easier and much safer to use those against smaller ships. More reliable, to be more specific. And if I were to use a PvE build, if you were to go with a sentry build, then this would look something like this. However, are these ships good for PvE? Well, I mean, it does have some good DPS, and if you want to make it for PvE, yeah, I guess you can. However, I would say maybe the Dominix Navy or Dominix 2 are perhaps more suitable for PvE activities, because the Black Ops hull of the Dominix and the Black Ops hull in general is pretty much designed for special operations, for PvP basically, for fleet stuff. That's the primary purpose on these ships. So yeah, wasted potential maybe, but if you want to use it for PvE, you can. No one will stop you. Has some decent performance for PvE. I have friends who use Dominix Gallente for PvE, and they were pretty happy with it. The Dominix 2, because at the time there was no Navy. However, I would say the Navy Dominix, I think that's by far currently my favorite battleship. I used to be the Nestor, but the Dominix Navy just overthrew all other drone boats DPS wise. I think nothing comes close to the Dominix Navy when it comes to the DPS output that it's able to do and able to deliver, especially after it received the siege mode. The siege mode gave the Dominix Navy a big boost in total damage output, and it is just very scary to look at a battleship that's able to do 100,000 DPS burst DPS. That's some scary value. If you have like 10 of these ships, that's a lot of DPS. So I think when it comes to a Black Ops fleet, maybe the most lethal one could probably be a Bombard Dominix Black Ops fleet. If you could get the same DPS value on this ship, you could get some pretty scary burst, which could result in very fast hit and run sign operations. You jump in, unload Bombard 1 or 2 cycles, because you can double load Bombard, and when you destroy the target you just jump out, which is what Black Ops fleets usually do. They jump in, delete the target and jump out, unless it's a bait unless it's a Rorqual bait or something like that. Then the Black Ops fleet has a high chance of being deleted. It's what we have experienced 2 times, I believe, so far. And it's funny how I always have that feeling. I always had that bad feeling right before we jump on a Rorqual or something that smells like a bait. Well, the first one that we jumped, that I participated in, wasn't exactly a bait. It was when the bug was preventing Rorquals from logging out. A lot of Rorquals have been destroyed that day.
Ships detected.
It wasn't a bait, but the corporation that the Rorqual was in used the offline Rorqual as a bait. Was built for mining, didn't have any tank, was offline, and they used that as bait. That's the first super capital encounter that this ship faced, and it survived. I managed to warp out as the sole survivor of that encounter. That was pretty funny. I always expect this thing to blow up. Just to be clear, the ship is built cheaply because I know it will blow up. It's just a matter of time when this thing blows up. So far it survived 2 or 3, maybe 4 such encounters where it got yeeted into deep space. There'll be more, although I think the crew has been a little bit busy and I haven't seen any ping for our fleet in quite a while. But yeah, I would say right now, I would say the Dominix hull is, when it comes to battleships at least, my favorite battleship in general. Used to be the Macarial, but I kind of feel bad for flying that ship. That thing is old. The Macarial, the good old Mac, it's old, and I don't want to lose that ship. There are just so many memories that I have on that thing, you know. The first ever corporation that I joined, well, technically the second corporation that I joined, the corporation that introduced me to Syndicate in this game, built that ship. One of the very first Macarial's hulls in the game, back when Tier 8 was released. So that ship does have a lot of value for me, and I still use it, but I try not to use it. I have other ships that just get the job done better. But yeah, that good old Macarial still there. I will keep that ship until the game shuts down. I'm not letting go of the Macarial, no way. One of those ships that you can just look at and just go back 5 years ago. Can you believe it? 5 years ago. That's when that thing was built. 2020. 2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months after the game launched. And that thing is still floating. Maybe one of the last ones that's still alive. Most of the old ships, well, have been destroyed at one point, and when I don't really count a IP'd ship as original, because once it blows up, once it's gone, when you IP the ship, I count that as getting a new hull from insurance.
We're under attack.
So the Macarial is still there, and I used to do the Macarial, Black Ops Macarial. That was fun, and it's also kind of funny. I jokingly said back then, Black Ops Macarial will come one day, and then a couple months ago, Marzio pops in. I love when the developers do stuff like that. And it's also why I like the game. It's a game that has that certain feel to it. Despite how flawed it is, you know, it's not a perfect game, let's be real. I still enjoy it a lot. It's a unique game, and it will be unique. Nothing will get close to this game on this platform for a very, very, very long time. Maybe ever, actually. Maybe never. There's never going to be another game like this on this platform. I don't think that anyone else will make something like Eve on a mobile platform. I don't think that's gonna happen. Or at least not in the near future, but I don't really see that happening. No way. So that's what I'm saying. Enjoy the game while it lasts, because once it's gone, because nothing lasts forever, it's gone, and there's no other game that's going to be able to replace it. And on PC, you know, not everyone has 12 hours a day to sit on a PC to play EVE Online. Like, I tried, I just couldn't get myself to do that, especially with my horrendous internet connection and with my for some reason the game EVE Online doesn't like my hard drive. It has the infinite loading resource problem. I undock and I don't have any UI basically. I change computers and it's still the same problem, so yeah, it's the problem I have with EVE Online. And I don't have 12 hours a day to sit on a PC, let me be honest. I can't do that anymore. I mean, I could, but I would be burned out so much. So I just enjoy... and that's why I actually prefer... That's why I like games on this platform, because you can play them anywhere. Anywhere where you like. On a sofa, in the bed, on work. Although don't play on work. Don't play on work, don't get fired. In the school, but you know, don't play in school. Maybe on breaks, but don't play on class. You know, pay attention to class. But yeah, it's the ability to play anywhere, and the accessibility to be pretty much anywhere. Not bound by a huge box connected to the wall that draws like 500 watts of power. That's how much my PC draws, I believe. I need to check that. It draws quite a bit of power. I blame Nvidia for that. Power hungry GPUs. But yeah, honestly, I do like this Space Potato. It's a very unique ship. And for now, I will stick with drone boats. Maybe I'll get the Armageddon hull. I have an Armageddon in the station here that I borrowed from the Corp a long time ago. I still have that ship with me. But I think I might get the Armageddon Special Ops. That ship could be interesting as a E-War ship. Or maybe the Armageddon 2, which also is kind of a E-War ship. It's mostly the Armageddon hull, I think, doesn't have the same DPS, but it has very good range with neutralizers, and Nosferatus is again a E-War ship, a ship meant for fleets. It has a special, you know, utility purpose. While the Dominix's purpose is to deliver DPS, the Armageddon's purpose is to destroy capacitors of the enemy ships. Not as efficient as a Balgorn, unfortunately, you know, but it gets the job done. Definitely gets the job, or the Azazel. And speaking of the Azazel, I still have a Balgorn hull that I cannot sell, so I decided just to keep that thing. Since I can't sell it, I don't want to yeet it in Dormant Realm, because it's expensive. I just decided to keep the ship, and maybe I'll use it. I mean, having the Balgorn is better than not having one, I guess. It's better than nothing. So I will keep the ship and see what I can do with it. But yeah, tell me what you think about the Dominix Special Ops. Do you like the ship? Do you dislike the ship? Although, to be honest, I don't think there's anything to dislike about the Dominix. Only, I guess, the visual appearance. It's definitely not the prettiest ship in the game, okay? The Gallente ships are known to be a little bit on the ugly side, to put it bluntly. Although I do like how the Space Potato looks. The Space Whale or the Space Potato, both are valid names for this thing. space potato or space whale? Big old space potato. And the tier 9 Dominix is pretty much a very decent little machine as well. Cheap and effective with Bombard. I need to have one very cheap tier 9 battleship for heat purposes. This should be pretty fun to see what they can do. I have a Praxis, but that thing costs a kidney. I won't use a Praxis, it's not good. Not good cost performance wise, it costs too much on IP, and I need to save my IP for the Dominix Black Ops because I am still convinced that this thing will blow up. Maybe even on the next Black Ops run. It's bound to happen. I mean, that's just what happens when you go and do Sino jumps all over the place. But with that being said, that would be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.